Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of CFO 4.0. I want to say, firstly, a massive thank you and shout out to Amanda at the ACCA, who helped coordinate and organise this particular podcast. So today we're going to be talking all about not only the importance and value that awards bring to businesses and, of course, finance teams, but also about how you can do it. How can you be successful when you apply for an award? So we have a fabulous panel. So on the panel, we have Andi Lonnen, we have Becky Glover, Hannah Williams, and Jess Harcourt. And you may recognize some of these voices and guests from previous episodes. So we are going to be talking to both people that have won awards, but also judges as well. So it's going to be a fabulous session. I hope you enjoy it. And also just a really quick shout out for those of you that don't already know, but the Gen CFO team have their Digital Finance Function Awards coming up. So if you haven't already looked at applying for one of those, check it out. Some great opportunities to recognise the power of finance within and also the power of transformation and how it can really change teams. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you to this session and I hope you enjoy it. And welcome, everybody. So firstly, I want to say a big thank you to Amanda for arranging this session and obviously asking myself and the others along. So I just want to introduce you to our fabulous speaker panel. So we have Andi Lonnen, we have Becky Glover, Jess Harcourt, and Hannah Williams will be joining us in a little bit. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their background and their experience with awards. So we'll go in no particular order. So there is no priority here. So Andi, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yes, no problem. Thank you, Hannah. So my name is Andi Lonnen. I'm an FCCA, of course, and experienced to commercial finance director level, and now run a company called Finance Business Partner Academy, where we train finance business partners. I'm here to talk about what it's like as a judge when judging awards, but I also want to tell you about something I'm very proud of. I did end up as a finalist in a Business Personality of the Year awards in our local business awards, which was the most hotly contested category because everybody could join in, all these different sides of businesses. And as a finance business, we made it through to the final three. We were a finalist in that process, which I'm immensely proud of.
Amazing, Andi. You're going to have to save those nice top tips and share that with us as we go through the session. So next, Becky, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Becky Glover. I'm the Finance Director of VNC Automotive. And my experience in awards comes from Digital Finance Function Award, which last year I was part of the winning team for Learning Event of the Year. And I was also nominated and up for Rising Star in Finance. Since then, I've also been nominated for Top 50 Women in Accounting and Finance. And I'm just a major advocate for people going ahead, nominating themselves, nominating other people, because I think it's really, really beneficial for yourselves, the businesses you work for, but also your network, your confidence level, your personal brand, things like that. So yeah, really excited to talk about it today, actually.
Amazing. And yeah, it's also amazing, isn't it, how many different awards there are out there, and we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. And Jess, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm the management accountant at Fearless Adventures. So I was also part of the team that where Becky won at the Learning Provider of the Year at the Digital Finance Function Awards. I also recently won Finance Professional of the Year at the Made in Manchester Awards, and I'm a shortlisted finalist for Accountant of the Year at the Inside and Northwest Awards.
Fabulous. So we've got a long list of award winners in our panel today. And Amanda, if you could just let me know. I think we've got Hannah in as well. Lovely. So I think, Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, yeah, I'm Hannah from Tiny Rebel Brewery. We're based in Newport. My awards, I guess, background comes from when we started the business about 11 years. We started looking at awards. So with marketing, I've looked at nominating colleagues. I've been nominated myself, so I've done the application side as well as the putting the business forward as being nominated.
You're doing well, Hannah. Great name, by the way, of course. So we're going to start with our first round of questions. So what we want to talk about is obviously talk a bit about the awards, but tell us why you individually actually decided to do it. Was there a particular trigger or something that gave you the motivation to make the first jump? But if we go around in the same order, so Andi, do you want to just tell us a bit about your first award and what made you do it?
Sure, and happy to talk from a judging perspective as well. So when I went for the awards, a bit similar to Hannah actually, it was because I just set up the company. It was a great way of meeting other businesses. It was a great exposure. It was great to let people know what we did. It was exciting to be part of a business community. It was inspiring to see what other people were doing as well. So those really were my motivations for going for an award at that particular time.
And obviously you kind of have dual perspective here, both as an award winner and as an award judge. So how did you get into the judging side of things?
I was invited to become a judge, and again, just so excited to do that. And a lot of it, I really love doing it just because of the inspiration. I think it's so inspiring seeing what people are doing in the finance community in particular. And I think I would encourage people to go for awards for that as one of the reasons as well. You know, if just share your successes, share your celebrations, because you will inspire others to raise their game as well. You'll inspire them to see what is the art of the possible. And it's just wonderful to be immersed in this environment where people are doing so many fantastic things, so many exciting things. And it's so inspiring. And there's a saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I really believe that if you can inspire others by celebrating your successes, then it's raising the whole game of people in finance, which is brilliant.
Absolutely. And there's so many benefits across, obviously, within finance as well, and raising the profile of finance, but also for your businesses. And because I remember, Becky, I think the first time I saw your name was because you'd won an award. So tell us a little bit what motivated you to get involved in awards.
Well, the first awards that I was involved in, I was actually nominated by someone that I still don't know who it was. So there's still a mystery. But I just remember receiving that email and it said, like, congratulations, you've been shortlisted. And I was like, whoa, this is this must be wrong. Or, you check it, you read it again, don't you? And it was such an amazing feeling. And then obviously you get the follow through of attending the awards night, meeting so many amazing people, your connections just grow and grow. And obviously meeting people face to face in that kind of really positive environment, everyone kind of connects that little bit deeper. So that's why I was then like, right, now I'm going to nominate other people for awards, because I would love to make others feel like that too. And I would love to bring more people into my connections and meet new people and, understand their business or how they do things. So yeah, I think that sort of rush of getting that first email will stay with me, and that will sort of push me on to nominate myself for awards as well, and as well as nominating others too.
Yeah, and there is something very special about being nominated for an award you weren't expecting, isn't there? It gets an extra bit of buzz. I remember the same with the Digital Finance Awards that the Gen CFO and ACCA sponsored, I believe. And that was just such an exciting rush to get it. And, so that's something for everyone to think about, even if it's not you personally, nominating your team and the feeling that brings in and, the motivation that gives people. And Jess, what about yourself? What was your motivation?
So I'm championing the thing of nominating yourself for awards, which I know some of us don't feel comfortable. It might sound a bit cringe. And I didn't just wake up one morning and decide that I was amazing and I deserved an award. And my marketing team actually asked me I'd seen this award, the Made in Manchester Awards, and asked me to put myself forward. And at first I was like, no, don't be ridiculous. But they explain that I'm the best person that knows the impact that I've had on the things that I do day to day. So sometimes it's nice. Yeah, it's great to share this thing of nominating other people, but sometimes these application forms can be quite complex or ask very detailed questions. Sometimes they want numbers, facts and figures. And if you work alongside someone, you just know of someone that you think deserves an award, you might not know that information. So I filled in the application form. I sent it over to the marketing team to double check and see see what they thought. And like all things, she came back and said, no, you need to big yourself up more about this and this. I think sometimes it's hard to toot your own horn, as it were. So she gave me some pointers of things that I needed to expand on, which also helped give me a little bit more confidence as well, having someone else review it. And I put the application in. I also had to do an interview, which was quite interesting. It was on Teams, a bit like this. So that was good to, again, like Becky said, meet some new people, meet some interesting people that had a lot more experience than I did, to try and sort of give a bit of personality as well. And I won it, and it was great fun on the night. There was lots of wine and beers knocking around. So yeah, it was worth it just for that.
Yeah, we can't forget to mention the alcohol that's involved in these award ceremonies. Are a definite benefit to be on the list of reasons to consider it at the very least, or good food, one or the other. And obviously, Hannah, you mentioned that your business, it was all very much about raising the brand and the profile. Was it something that you had decided to do? Was it something the business approached you about? Or tell us a bit about how when you decided to go for your first award.
Yeah, like Jess, obviously come from a brewery, we're all about the beer after the event. But it came about a few different ways, actually, because we looked at a number in different sectors, so we just don't apply for one sector. And the bit I find great about awards is you can, especially being in finance, you can tap into different awards in different areas, and then you get better exposure in a different sector that you would ordinarily be in. So, we've moved from the startup awards, applying to those, food and drink manufacturing, COPD wellbeing for our employees. And then on the flip side, then I was asked to be a judge for the startup awards for Wales, which I did last year, and I'll be doing again this year. So it's just exposure in completely different ways. And as Andi said, it's so inspiring and beyond worth doing. And you should, I'd implore anyone just to put their name forward, because everyone has this unique style of what they bring to not just a business, to a sector as well, and that should always be pioneered for sure.
Absolutely, and some great tips there, to think outside of just pure finance awards and thinking about some of the more either industry specific. There are a huge amount of those out there as well, as thinking about size of business and location specific, and mention of the Welsh awards there. So brilliant. So obviously there is some preparation in getting information ready for award applications. So what about yourself, Andi? Tell us a little bit about how you would prepare for a submission, or perhaps as a judge, what you're expecting to see and what makes a good application for you.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's like preparing for your exams. Answer the question, answer what people are looking for. So when I was preparing, it was really focusing on answering what they were asking for. And I would encourage that from a judging perspective as well. If someone says, do submit 500 words on XYZ, then do that. 1,000 words might mean that you're doing something amazing, but you might get eliminated at that stage and not get shortlisted. So following what people ask for, I think, is really important. I think from a judge perspective, keeping it simple would be another one. And I would also really focus on the results that you've been getting as well. What's the outcome? What's the difference to what something was before, assuming that's what's being asked for? The others will be able to expand on this a little better in terms of, if you're getting an accountant of the year or a training provider of the year or something like that, what was happening before and what is happening now? What is the outcome? What's the result? So I would stay focused on that, I think, would be my tip as well.
Some great tips there. I'm going to ask a follow-up one. What are your pet hates, and what do you not like to see on an application?
People not following the rules. I am a rule follower, so it really is that. It's that preparation. If you've asked for 500 words and then someone does 1,000 words or something like that, then it's just that's not what we've asked for. So I think that would be a pet. Not quite a hate, that'd be quite strong, but just something to watch out for.
No, absolutely. And normally there's some guidance that goes with the awards as well as to what to include in each section as well. So that's always something to keep an eye on. Becky, what are your thoughts in terms of either preparation or thinking about things to include in the awards? What's your top tips?
Yeah, so sometimes it can be quite tricky to think. So they will say one of the questions might be like, within the last year, tell us when you've achieved X, Y, Z, or whatever it is. And so something that I took from, I think it was a book or a podcast a little while ago, was something called a working CV. So I have a document, obviously like a formal CV, but then I have a document that's like rough ready. And every time I do something at work and I think, oh, that was new, or I got this great result, or whatever it might be, I chuck it down on that, because it's so hard to remember back. You think, oh, I'm just doing my day-to-day job, that's just what I'm paid for, that's just what I'm doing. But if you actually write down every time that you've implemented something new, or you've got a really great result, or whatever it might be, you can then flick back to that document and go, actually, I have achieved quite a lot. So it helps to fill in the forms, but it also helps to kind of boost your confidence a bit, because you're like, no, actually, I have done this. I can apply for this. I am, relevant for this award. So I think that's really helpful. And then just like keeping your sort of connections, your networks, because there will be people that you come across who are achieving amazing things, and they need to be up for an award. So, keeping up with LinkedIn, or however you like to, networking events, however you like to connect with people, so that other people, what they're up to, and then, you can cheer for them as well.
That's great. And there are so many other benefits as well to holding that working CV, not just awards. That's a brilliant suggestion. Thanks, Becky. And Jess, what about you? How did you prep? Obviously, you mentioned in your first one you had some help from the marketing team. But what tips have you got for people putting together applications?
So I think my the thing that I've benefited from the most is, once I did that original application, I saved a copy of it, and then I use a lot of the information that's in there now in future applications. So rather than having to start from scratch every single time, I know that the first one won, so it mustn't be too bad. Obviously the questions are usually slightly different. It depends on the award, so you do have to change and adapt it. It's not just a complete copy and paste, but the legwork has been done, and then it's just about adapting it slightly. I don't know about you lot, but I struggle with writing. I'm definitely more of a numbers person than I am a written person. So even things like writing on LinkedIn and just practicing sort of selling yourself, if that's a thing, like with your personal brand, that kind of stuff, and just getting comfortable with feeling slightly uncomfortable about shouting about what you've done. I think that's also helped me a lot.
And I think that's a really good point, because I don't know about everybody else, but it's always hard writing about your own achievements. There is something about feeling like you're bragging when you put yourself forward for these things. So from that perspective, Jess, how did you balance that first one? How did you get to a point where you felt comfortable talking about yourself and your achievements?
I still don't think I'm 100% confident. I was 100% comfortable. I think it's just about surrounding yourself, like Becky said, with the right people. Becky is one of my chief cheerleaders, constantly liking and interacting with stuff that I'm shouting about. And she's also great at sending me stuff that I think she thinks that I should nominate myself for, and I do the same for her, or she'll nominate for me for things and things like that. It's about creating that safe space, I suppose, and surrounding yourself with the people whose opinion you value, who aren't just going to say, yeah, that's great, actually give you like criticism and feedback that's actually useful.
I think we all need a cheerleader like Becky in our back pocket, helping us find great awards to go for. So, and well done, Becky. And what about yourself, Hannah? What are top tips that you've got for anyone thinking about some awards?
For me, from the judge side, it's probably a little bit like Andi. I see so many, and I'm actually judging next week for the startup, so I just can't do boring. It's like open with something hard hitting, and that sounds awful. It's like when you read a CV, you leave all the crap at the end, but put all the good stuff about you at the top, because anyone naturally gets bored after the first even couple of sentences if you're anything like me. So you can quickly wade through exactly the applications you want to look at, and some are so heartfelt and heartwarming, but some are literally just one line, and it's just, does it even mean enough to you to plow through that? So you just want to demonstrate that on the other side. And then when you get shortlisted for stuff, it's it's so humbling. It really is. And to even get through to win is just, it's beyond, and it's just so good for the whole team to feel part of something and know you're doing something good and it's being recognised. I think that's what's really important.
Yeah, because it can often not be about yourself individually as well, because you being nominated and you win can be a lift for, like we say, everyone in your team or your organisation as well. So the benefits, and I loved Andy's phrase at the beginning, was it rising tides raise all ships? So that's a wonderful phrase for us to think about. So and that's one of the ways that I get over the awards piece, is by thinking about the impact on the rest of the team and what it means for them as much as anything. And I think back to that, obviously, as judges, okay, so, how important is punctuation, formatting for you when you're reading something? Come on, give us the goss. What's your thoughts on that? Andy, I'll let you go first.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I find it really important. I think, there's spell checkers, there's other people that can read through, like Jess's marketing department did, and things like that. So you can get a really polished document. You want to showcase yourself in the best light possible. And I'm thinking particularly about finance awards here. We're all finance professionals. We generally, quite into detail. So that sort of thing really stands out, and things. And it's like Hannah was saying just a moment ago, do you care enough? So I hope that's okay for everyone, but that's something that does stand out to me. I just literally see words jump off the page if they're not spelt right or if it's not presented correctly. So I think that's that little bit of spit and polish at the end really does make a difference.
And what's your thoughts, Hannah? Do you feel the same? Is there anything in there that you watch out for and you would potentially disqualify somebody if you saw?
Oh yeah, without sounding like too much like a pain in the ass, but I'm like grammar police. They are, all that. You're. Oh god, you're reading it like. Oh. I'll do that anyway. I do that with my kids' homework or anyone in the office. Yeah, it's just those little bits of things that genuinely I overcome all of that if you can see real passion, and you can sort of forgive some of those, I guess, mistakes. But yes, go get it like spell checked and someone sense check it. But that passion, if you can get that through, that is second to none. It really is.
Absolutely. And I think, we've got finance people looking at awards. So of course the attention to detail is going to be there. But I think it's a really great point, Hannah, about emotion. So whether that is humour, whether that is a passion for what you do or a passion for the award you're being nominated for, that is so very important when you're reading. And in terms of, the awards themselves, what about the impact it's had on you or your organisation? I'd love to understand that from each of you. So, Andi, I'd love to hear from your experience as an award winner and as award nominee. What impact did it have on you and your team?
So for me, I was a finalist, and I lost out because we're a really international business. But because it was local business awards, there was focus on what you did in the local environment. But it was just the buzz. The buzz is just so amazing, and it's sharing that buzz with other people, and then more people know about the awards, and people are sharing their successes, and so you get to know more businesses. There's more of that inspiration out there. There's more excitement. There's more focus. I had on my pin board at one point about being an award-winning business. For every single decision you make is just think about what would make it an award-winning decision. What would make this award-winning? So it really does up your game, I think. And just that buzz, there's no feeling like it. It's just, it's incredible. It really is.
I love that. I love that it's actually driven you to think differently about what you do as a business, as well as, living off the high that comes with being nominated for those awards. What about you, Becky?
Yeah, I think it's we're working in finance, and especially like being sort of higher up in finance as well, can sometimes feel a little bit lonely, a little bit like, am I doing the right thing? You try and question everything. So to then get that award or just nomination, it's like that little nugget of like, yes, you're doing the right thing, keep going. And it's from an external source, it's from people in the industry, in the know, they can see the sort of fuller picture, which sometimes when you're in it day to day, you can't really see. So yeah, it definitely has an impact on morale, on confidence. And I think even for your team, even if they're not winning the award, if you can come back with an award, the team, the business, it gives them a bit of a boost as well. It's like, yes, we've got someone here. They know what they're doing. We're all going to be good. Let's keep pushing forward. And in times of uncertainty, like, we've had COVID, we've had Brexit, we've had all of these things, just to have someone saying, you're doing the right thing, you're doing great, actually means a lot.
Absolutely. And I think there's always a lot of pressure in finance. It's nice to have some of those shining moments and a way to reward the team. And what about you, Jess? Have you seen any impact since your first awards? Have you noticed people treating you differently, celebrity status internally?
I think for me, it's more about the conversation opener. I've been to a few events in the last few weeks alone with a few different people, and it's just the conversation starts with, oh, congratulations on winning that award. And it's great. It's just a way of sort of starting a new conversation, and it makes people feel like they can approach you and they know what to sort of have an opening conversation, if that makes sense. It's and like the girls are already said about morale and things like that. It's just a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, isn't it? But yeah, for me, it's more about the conversation, the network of people, the people that I met on the night. I've connected with them really well as well. So there was a company in particular who they didn't actually win their award, but the guy who runs the company is now signed up to do Manchester Marathon, and I'm doing that as well. So it's just a way of like connecting with people on different levels as well, and just, again, down to network, personal brand, expanding that net, and just making you approachable to other people as well.
Absolutely. I think that's a really big thing you kind of underestimate with some of these awards. It's not just you going up there and getting the shiny badge or the shiny certificate. It's actually those people that you meet after or during the event. What about yourself, Hannah?
So I echo that a little bit. And it's just meeting different people in different areas that was really beneficial for us. We were in Champion Beer of Britain. Feels like an age ago now, back in 2015. God, a lot younger then. But that opened so many doors for us. Even people still reference it now, which I find a bit weird because it's so long ago. But it's all these parts of those awards that people will pick up and see and learn about your business that you won't know, or you won't have targeted, or you won't know you need that contact, or that contact would be beneficial to you at that time, but further down the line could be really beneficial. So that's always something to keep in mind. I think that's in general when you're applying or when you're judging, your paths will cross again, 6 degrees of separation and all that.
Absolutely. And there's a big piece, isn't there, about personal branding, and you hear the term bandied around a lot within, in LinkedIn and all of those kind of things. But have you each seen an impact on your personal brand and how well people know you individually from the awards? Andi, I'll let you go first. You've got double whammy. You've got both winner and judge.
That's true. I think as the others have said, it really does raise your profile. It certainly did for me in the early days of the company, and getting to know other local businesses and learn from them and how things were done and so on. I think from a judge, it's it's just all this inspiration, these inspiring people, and just hoping that they can use and share their success as well. I know there was someone who won one of the Digital Finance Function Awards last year, and they didn't put it on their website, they didn't put it on LinkedIn, they weren't telling people. It's like, come on. I was shouting it for them. It's like, you've got to let people know about this. But there was that embarrassment of success again. Jess was saying earlier about it can be a bit embarrassing to put yourself forward and shine your own light, as it were, even after the awards. But it's so important, and like they've all said, it is that conversation opener, I think, as well.
And that's actually a really great point, Andi, because it's not just about the work you do before the awards, but it's actually what you do afterwards. So maybe we slightly tweak the question I'm going to ask you guys and go around and say, how did you use that award and how did you, promote it and make the most of it when you got the opportunity to either be nominated or won? Becky, what about you?
Well, I think after the Digital Finance Function Awards, that's when I did your podcast, Hannah.
Mm-hmm. It was indeed.
So obviously that was a huge positive. And I've, been asked to do loads of, podcasts or, talking type things since, because I think other people then go, oh, okay, so they must be whatever level because they've got this award behind them or shortlist behind them or whatever. So it immediately pulls you out from the pack, and it gives people a little bit of reassurance over who you are, what you do, and the fact that you're good at it. I think we've spoken about the positives for businesses, but also the positives for an individual. If you don't run your own business, or if you don't want to run your own business, then you're probably at some point in the future going to be getting a new job or applying for a new job. There's a bunch of CVs on someone's desk. And actually these awards, you might have won them a year, 2 years previously, but it shows up as a nice, bright, shining star on your CV, and it makes you different to everyone else. It means your CV is going to get pulled out. In the interview, it gives you something really positive to talk about. So I think just winning that one award for years to come will show people from a career perspective that you're worth, winning that award and investing in going forwards.
And I think that's great. And I think it was Hannah that actually mentioned, we talked about the award application being a bit like a CV and wanting to stand out. But you're absolutely right, Becky. And I've seen it when I've looked at CVs, either for, if you see that kind of, even just a nomination gives you pause for thought and allows you to pull it out from the pack and think about that individual just one more time. So it's a great point from a personal perspective. What about you, Jess?
I mean, I was shouting about it as much as I could. So I've got a badge on my email signature. So whoever I email gets to see the award that I won. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I shouted it from the rooftops. People are probably sick of reading about it. But again, it goes back to that thing of it created a conversation. It created... It helped me to encourage other women, especially to start going for these awards as well. I think, obviously, we're all, especially in an accounting finance world, we're all a bit maybe a bit more introverted, or we're not shouting about these things as much as we could. But with the world and the way that it's changing and the way that the profession is changing, I think it's important that people are trying to stand out and show that they are a bit different. And we all have personalities and things that make us stand out. We're not just number crunchers sat in a corner being the fun police. It just gives us something interesting maybe to talk about, something a bit different.
No, I love that. And it works, because I remember, so when you joined here and Jess, I was like, of course it's going to be Jess Harcourt. So I even remembered your last name when I saw the panel, Jess. So it's definitely working. What about you, Hannah? How did you promote, either, your nomination or your awards?
I need to take a leaf out of Jess's book, actually, so I'm a bit rubbish about doing that self-promoting thing to the point where we've got like a couple coming up. I'm just like, yeah, I won't put that anywhere. And I actually can't even say to you why. I have no idea. Because I should put it on LinkedIn, or I should put it up in different areas. Oh, I don't know. And you're just like, oh. So I definitely need to take a leaf out of Jess's book, and I'd actually sit there and implore everyone else to do it. And I'm just useless, just rubbish at it. But yeah,
I think you need a Becky in your corner, Hannah. You need somebody to give you that push and say, put it on your your LinkedIn profile, put it on your picture.
And it's not. I don't know what I've created my own glass ceiling, I think, on this, which I need to break down. And I'm pretty sure I won't be the only one, and there'll be other people that feel the same, but I'd actively probably do this for them. So yeah, that's really important to talk around it on social from our business perspective is really important. for us, it's more the recognition in different areas and different sectors. And then, for me, it's just looking over the time period. It's just opened up so many doors for me within Tiny Rebel, but also me personally to, as a judge on the startup awards, or sitting as board members, as trustees in different businesses. And I wouldn't be able to have those opportunities had all these things not filtered through. And it's that brand recognition, and it's not just on awards, it's different areas, but certainly awards is huge and it's massive to shout about.
Absolutely. And I can completely agree with it's hard to talk about your own awards and your own nominations, but one tip I will give everyone, just give it to your marketing department. They will be absolutely thrilled to use that as collateral for their social media posts. If you can't promote yourself, your marketing team normally can do it for you. That's my one tip for this podcast. So I'm very aware that I can keep asking questions because we've got some great guests here to talk through. But if you have any questions to everybody listening to this live, then please do feel free to pop them in on the chat, because I'll start looking through and seeing if you have any. So please feel free to ask any questions you might have for any of our participants on anything award related. We'll put them in the hot seat and get some questions coming through. Brilliant. We'll give them. So whilst we're waiting for some questions to field through, it'd be one question I thought might be useful for everyone to know about. Where do you find these awards? How did you hear about the awards that you applied for? So Andi, do you want to go first?
Yes, mine was quite easy, being the local business awards, because I was part of the local business network. So they just promoted it absolutely everywhere. But yeah, we've mentioned some today, the Digital Finance Function Awards, so we'll give a shout out for those. Closing date for entries is the 31st of March. So if you're going to do it, get going, get cracking with it now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andi. Becky, any awards that you would like to mention, or you have, you think people should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, there's definitely Digital Finance Function Awards, obviously, that's been mentioned, which is brilliant and a fantastic night. Even if you just wanted to, connect with some people, everyone is so nice. So the other way I find awards is through LinkedIn, actually. There will be people shouting about awards that they have been nominated for or have won, and in which case you can remember those for next year. Or, people judging awards, or people, shouting about them, saying, we have awards, come and get involved. But yeah, that's really how I find it, is LinkedIn. And then, having a really great network of people, as Jess said already, that will go, I just saw this, this is right up your street, you need to apply for it. So it's keeping that network and that community close, of everyone that's going to champion you as well, because we all have days where we're just like, no, I just would like to curl up inside my house and not talk to people. So yeah, someone that can take you out of your comfort zone, and know that that's the right thing for you, is really, really good.
Yeah, brilliant. And what about you, Jess? Any top tips for finding good awards to apply for?
Google local business awards and just see what there is out there. I know, for example, we have like the Lancashire Red Roads Awards, because that's where I'm from. The Made in Manchester Awards were obviously local ones for just your local to your area in the business networks. I think ACCA share different awards as well, especially like the Digital Finance Function Awards. And obviously mine came through from my marketing team. So just if you've got a marketing team within your organization, let them know that you're looking to apply for awards, or put your team forward for awards and things like that, and let them do some of the legwork as well.
Absolutely. Great suggestions, Jess. Hannah, what about you? Any recommendations or suggestions for where to find them?
Pretty same as Jess, Google, LinkedIn. It's also just thinking outside of the finance box, I think, and that's what was beneficial for us. So we looked at externally, food and drink, people, all those other elements. And we did a staff awards internally in our clubhouse day, we call it, in January. And they went down an absolute storm. So it's also that recognition internally in a business that you can create your own hype and success, and people absolutely loved it, and they're already gunning for next year. We've got we're only in Q1, so they're already on the countdown to the nominations in December. So yeah, that's all really positive.
Yeah, it can be a great team building, can't it? Taking the crew to an awards dinner, bit of a treat, a cheeky night out, and chance to get to know each other better under less formal circumstances as well. As getting all dressed up for especially for the black tie ones. And Amanda, it would be great if you've got any links to how or any information on how the ACCA helps members find out more about events. It'd be great to, feel free to jump in and answer that one.
Yep, we have. We've just launched recently the ACCA Celebrating Member Success Hub. So I'll pop a link to that in the chat. But that's got lots of resources around why you should enter awards, tips on writing a standout nomination, and we've also got the opportunities to apply for. So we've got a list of some of the upcoming awards on there, and I think we've got 8 on there so far, and there will be growing. And yeah, just to say, we are a professional body. You are our members as well. So we love to celebrate you as much as you celebrate yourselves as well. So, any opportunity you get to tag ACCA or drop us a message and let us know that you've been nominated for something, then, we're willing to be your Becky. We're willing to be your cheerleader. We're willing to shout about it and, kind of raise your profiles. And, hopefully that comes from within the membership as well. Lots of members supporting each other as well. So, yeah, have a look at the hub and connect with each other, I think is a good tip from me as well. And one of the other ways that you can help highlight that you're an ACCA member as well is to use your designation after your name as well, whether that's on your LinkedIn profile or whether you're being added to a web page for judging or shortlists or whatever. Then just use ACCA or FCCA after your name, because that really helps you stand out for us as well, because we can immediately identify you as an ACCA member and kind of shout, hey, look at our member that's been nominated for this. So there's some tips that I would add to that. But yeah, I've posted the link in, so go and have a look at that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Amanda. And you got your secret ACCA cheerleading team hidden in the background there, searching the web for your nominations. So well worth doing. And the other thing as well, just one tip from me as well, just don't forget about local associations like the local chambers, and local papers very often will do annual awards as well. So there's plenty of opportunity to get involved. Right. So we have some questions, panel. I hope you're ready. So one great question from Victoria. So thank you, Victoria. As winners, what did you think that you did over the others shortlisted to secure it? And do you think that anyone can be a winner with the right preparation? So I'm going to split Victoria's question into two, because I think it's two very different ones. So Andi, do you want to go first?
Yes. So I think that's a great question. I think, yes, the right preparation, follow the rules as I've been calling it, but answer what's been asked of you. And I think from a judge perspective, and I'm sure this was mentioned earlier, is passion. I think it was Hannah that said about that. You can see when passion comes through. So as much as you can, just try and write from the heart, as well as the head. So because that does come across in writing, you can tell when people are really enthusiastic and passionate, or perhaps even creative, done something really quite different as well. And that would stand out for me.
Great tips, Andi. Becky?
I think confidence goes a long way. I think when you're writing, all of this information down about what you've done, why you've done it, what you've achieved, I think if you can write it down in a really confident way, really clear way, I don't know, but I think that would help the judges, because they can see okay, great, she's achieved X, Y, Z, and she's confident with it. It's not saying, I believe I have achieved, it's saying I have achieved. So it's taking your words, looking at them really carefully. Something that I notice people doing in emails and on LinkedIn sometimes is using the word just. And I really dislike it. It's like someone saying, oh, I'm just part-time. So you're not just part-time. You're still adding value. You are part-time. That's absolutely fine. So I think one thing that you can do is be really careful about the words that you're using, because there might just be things that you're putting in, which might create doubt in people's minds when they're then reading your application. So I would say that. And then anything about the preparation, something that I like to do is kind of bullet point what I want to say. Because like Jess, I'm not particularly good with my words. Sometimes I can put it all down and then I'm like, it doesn't really make clear sense. So I like to bullet point what I want to actually say and get across. And then I try and create the answer from those bullet points, because it keeps me coming back to the main points instead of me waffling around them. So yeah, just to be really clear. But yeah, I think that's it.
So more confidence, less waffle is the tip there.
Perfect.
Brilliant. I love that. And Jess, what about you?
I think it's about getting your personality across. So for me, I think I really secured the win, the memers through the interview process. So the application got me the interview, and then actually when I was talking to people face to face, that's so much easier to get your style, your personality, and the things that you were trying to get across, if that makes sense. They did a little winners video when we went up to get the awards, and it said about the feedback was that it was all about personality and confidence, like Becky said, but getting it across just trying to stand out from the crowd, I suppose, isn't it? And just trying to be a bit different and to engage with people. People like people, don't they? People aren't picking numbers off a spreadsheet. It's about people and personality. So I think that's the real key. And then with the preparation, I think it's just knowing yourself and knowing what it is that you're trying to get this award for. So the why, I think, is a big thing, and understanding that. So if it is about personal brand, or it is a particular achievement, a particular difference that you've made, understanding that inside and out, I think is key.
And it was a really interesting point you made there, Jess, about the fact that one of the awards actually had an interview stage. So did you do any particular prep for the interview side?
No, they gave you some guidelines. So they told you to make sure that you knew the application that you'd submitted. So I reread that a few times just to make sure that I knew what I'd put in there. I think sometimes we can write all these things down and then you think, what did I actually say in that? So yeah, it was that. But to be fair, once I got in there, it was very informal and it was more conversational. So it was more about things that came up as and when. Just like any job interview, I suppose, isn't it? It's people have these questions, don't they, that they set out to ask you, but then when you get down to it, if you're steering the conversation or something comes up particularly, do you know what I mean, you can steer it that way. So yeah, it wasn't a huge amount of prep. That's the other thing. It's like these things that don't take a huge amount of time out of people. I think, don't get me wrong, some of these application forms can feel lengthy, but if you've already done a few of them and, like I said, you're copying and pasting and you're using the same answers, it's not a huge amount of time. And then the interview for me was only 20 minutes or so. It wasn't a long time. So yeah, don't overthink it, I think.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities. I think we've seen it a few times, haven't we, in the prep for awards and preps for CVs. It's a similar piece, and you just got to, be clear on where you add value and find ways to communicate that well. And what about yourself, Hannah?
Yeah, I think everyone else has covered most of it. I suppose the thing I'd add to that was sometimes try and prepare. Again, I'm the world's worst for that. So even a last minute entry is really important. Just check it in, because it can get you to the next stage. So there's generally 2 stages. I've been involved in a lot. It's the paper application first, and an interview second. And you can really shine in the second bit. You can just, even if you bullet point down, as Becky said, what you've got or what you want to include, and just get it all out there, because it's so important. Any nugget of really useful information could be what tips you over the edge to become the winner.
Brilliant. And thank you, Victoria, for the question there. Another really good question, actually, from Sharon. So what would you recommend for people to get involved in, particularly from large organizations where it can be harder for, lower down individuals to drive change? So what suggestions have you as a panel for how people can do things, I think is the piece, that could be award worthy? So Andi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what a great question. And I can speak from the Digital Finance Function Awards because there's awards at all level. Becky mentioned earlier about the Rising Star in Finance Award. So that can be for all different levels. And I've got some of them here. So we've got, Rising Hero. The Social Media of the Year as well, which is definitely an award many people can take part in. Becky and Jess rock at this. And I'm going to do a shout out to Robin Kizyak, if I've said your name. Yeah. Hi, Robin, who's also amazing on that Learning Event of the Year. So have a look at different awards because they are for all different levels. It's not just celebrating people at the top level. Have a look at what's out there. That's what I would say. And I would encourage you at all levels to do it as well and get support from other people, whether it's your team or, as we've said before, marketing departments as well.
Brilliant suggestions, Andi. Thank you. And Becky?
So I would say try and get involved in some events, like people events, because people like people do business with people, businesses are just people. So if you can get yourself to some networking events, get yourself out there, even just meeting people that you might have met through LinkedIn or something for a coffee, the ideas flow, you share things, you learn from those people. So it might be that gives you the edge, because you can learn from what other people are doing and you can take that on. Even if you're lower down in a organization, then you can learn from those people and go to your organization and say, look, I think we should be doing this. And if you're lower down and you can drive a small change, actually that would be really interesting to read about for an award, because it is, notoriously a little bit harder to drive change. But yeah, I would say definitely people get involved, get out there, meet people, and find your sort of crowd, really.
Thanks, Becky. And Jess?
And very similar to what Becky just said, get involved with your professional body. And that's how we were nominated for that Digital Finance Function Award, was through the professional body. We were doing a webinar through them. So I think, like Becky's saying, put yourself out there, but definitely see if the ACCA have got any particular things that they're running, events that they're running. I know that the marketing team are always looking to plug different people's stories and things like that. So it's about putting yourself out there and saying yes to the opportunities. And then that's when you then get recognised and people start to recommend you for things or nominate you for things or reach out and tell you to nominate yourself, whatever it is. I think that's important.
Absolutely, Jess. And Hannah?
Actually, really good question from Sharon, because I think it's not just awards, that's all throughout business. It's how do you get your voice heard at all different levels? So, as Jess said, just get your name out there, that's really important. And just have, again, the passion behind it to say you're really interested in it at all different levels so people know. But you could be the person to start nominating, and then that comes back around further down the line. So that could be another alternative.
And I think also, and I'll be interested to see in the panel's perspective, it's not just about, just deciding yourself that you want to go for awards, but speaking to your, the person that you report to, speaking to your team, asking them to look out for opportunities for you to get involved in different things. Because I think sometimes, people are almost, if you put yourself out there and say, look, I'm interested in getting involved in a transformation project or implementing a new process or documenting something, change doesn't have to be massive. And you could, even in a large organization, there's often an opportunity to get involved in a small project within. And I see it a lot doing what I do and actually the most interesting projects and the ones I love the best is when people put their hands up to do something that's slightly outside of their comfort zone and you get to see them grow and thrive. So there's normally an opportunity somewhere, whether that's technology, whether that's process, whether that's driving people change. And those for me would be great topics for an award as well. So, and another thing to add to your working CV, I've taken that tip, Becky. That's a brilliant tip. I'm going to keep mentioning that one. Fabulous. So I think I'm going to do one more quick check. I think we are out of questions and we are coming close to time. So I want to say a massive thank you to our wonderful panel and to all of our attendees for joining us today. and asking some brilliant questions. And of course, as we said at the beginning of this session, we will be releasing the audio. So if you feel like there's somebody in your team or somebody that you know that could really do with listening to this advice to get a bit of a pep talk from our wonderful panelists, then please do. That will be shared on the CFO 4.0 podcast, and we'll share the audio. And of course, Amanda has put in the link to the Celebrating Member Success in the chat. So if you haven't grabbed that yet, then please do. If you're listening to this on demand, we will pop that link into the show notes for anyone that is listening to this as part of the podcast. And Amanda, it'd be lovely if there's anything I've missed or any roundups that you want to add into this. It's been a great session, and thank you for organising.
No, thank you, Hannah. That was a great session, and great to ask those questions. And thank you, everyone, for being involved. It was really great to hear some of the insights that you had, and definitely some food for thought for everybody, hopefully. And hopefully everyone will leave feeling inspired. I was watching something on TV the other day, and they were talking about opportunities, and they said doors are opening around you all of the time, but you have to step through those doors to take advantage of those opportunities. So let this session be your door. Step through it and get involved with some of these awards. Like I said, we have got the list on that web page that we have created. I'm sure the panelists on the session today will be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. It's always great to follow them and see some of the things they're up to for inspiration as well. And yeah, following hashtags for events is a great way to see some of the other people that are involved in things as well. So lots of great tips. So we'd love to hear afterwards if you want to share your takeaways online and what you got from this session. We'd love to hear that too. But yeah, thanks for everybody for taking part. Thanks for the questions you've given us as well. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.